Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick, and I am here today. Dana has her electricity cut, so I'll be doing this podcast alone, but I'm super excited because I have my good friend, Marcylle Combs, with me, and she's just written an amazing book, which, by the way, Marcylle, that was such a great video that John Maxwell did for you for your
I
book.
know.
That was awesome.
So
Marcylle,
honored that he did that.
so tell our audience, if you will, a little bit about your background, who you are, and then let's just dive into the book, which I'm super excited to read. So
Okay.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, I've been in business, since the dark ages, I feel. So I bought my first business when I was about 40, mainly in healthcare and some kind of management position, and then grew that business. I had offices in Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico. And then in 2018, I sold that. And of course, I don't have enough sense to retire. So I started a couple businesses and decided that I would set about, when I finished my commitment to the company I sold to writing a book. It's been a long journey. I've mainly been in service type industries. So a lot of people, a lot of nurses and a lot of females are primarily the people that I have worked with and served.
So let's go back, because I don't even remember the beginning. Marcylle and I go back. Our kids went to school together, which, by the way, we just got to use Ivy at Disney for our VIP
So excited.
concierge person, and we just loved her. She was a blast, and gosh, she was so good. But
Oh,
Chris and Ivy grew up together, went to school,
yes.
all through school at Liberty Christian. So Marcylle and I go way back, but I don't even really know what made you do the healthcare industry. Did you start out? I mean, how did all that even start?
I'm a registered nurse. And so that's why I always joke when I talk about business is that I learned business from a particular mentor and then from Business for Dummies, all the dummies books. I love those. Accounting for Dummies. I'm telling you, can learn almost everything in a book. But I went to work through, I'd always done, newborn labor and delivery, all of that. Husband went to tech to do his graduate degree. And, I got pregnant with the fourth baby. I have 5 children. Got pregnant with the fourth baby, which went to school with Bailey. Jonathan did.
Yes.
And so I found out about this little part-time job in home health. And truly, I didn't think, it's the never say never. I never thought I'd work with elderly um, ever. And so I went into home health just working part time as a per visit nurse and fell in love with it. And it was through that I ended up in a management position I wasn't qualified for. And then figured it out. You die or you figure it out. And so from there, I loved it and helped the owner grow it. And then he graciously sold it to me, even though I didn't really have the money to buy it. But I talked him into that somehow. I still wonder why he said yes. But through that, then I went on to, I sold that business, then started another business, and then left a contract and started another one. So it's been a journey, but I love home care and hospice, and I haven't done direct anything clinically in years and years. So very late in life, I went and got my master's. So
I love it. Well, and I'm sure you got learned a lot from the School of Hard Knocks if you're in business, because those of us that are in business, that's where we get most of our lessons from.
I really look at those people who can learn lessons the easy way and think, wouldn't that be nice? That's never been me.
Yeah, I got you. So let's kind of fast forward. You've sold the business. Well, first of all, you've grown it. It's an amazing business. And then you sold it, and I'm sure you had a non-compete, and now you're doing write the book. So tell us about the book, because the one thing I've always admired about you, Marcylle, because you bring your leadership team to John Maxwell, we bring our leadership team to John Maxwell as kind of a way to pour into them, is just the caliber of people that you've always been able to attract. So kind of talk about what's the purpose of the book, what's in the book, and how have you been able to do that? Because you do have an ability to attract and keep amazing people, and we all want that in business.
And, I think I learned early on, I'm a person of faith, as you well know. And so when I realized I was really going to have to work full time, I think it took me, it wasn't my viewpoint of what I was supposed to do in life with 4 little kids, which I eventually had 5, which is Ivy. But I didn't think that's what I was supposed to be doing. But when I realized I was going to, I thought, we spend so much of our lives at work. I mean, and to go to a job, and I had those jobs in hospitals, to go to a job where you don't like the people and you can hardly get yourself up to go to work and really would rather stay home, it's just not worth it. So I made a decision that, and now, of course, you have to have qualifications, especially in clinical kind of areas. They have to be a registered nurse. They have to be a physical therapist or speech therapist. But I decided that I was only going to hire people that I liked. Now, they could be completely different personalities than me, but I had to at least enjoy the interview. And if I didn't, I was not going to be tempted for just that warm body. And I think out of that, it became this philosophy where the title of the book is Never Hire Your Friends, but never is struck out. So that means always hire your friends. And I went on, because the first agency I grew I was living in a town, Lubbock, Texas, that I didn't know anybody. So really, I would go to the pastor, who was a friend of mine, and say, are there any clinical people here? If you have a new member, send them my way. And it just, it became, I know it's contra what most management people are taught, but I'm here to say you can do it, and you can do it well. Have I had people leave me? Yes. Have I told people and, had to fire someone? Yes. Even though I liked them and they were my friend, it's hard. But, it's worth it, because I've had a lifetime. I had a book launch just a few days ago, and I had people who worked for me long before that came to the launch. It was great to see them. Some that left when they wanted to start their own business, and I encouraged them to do that. And some that left with the sale. So truly, it's all about how can you manage your friends or family. I have had family work for me too, which can be a higher bar even for yourself. You do this, Linda.
Yes.
And it's truly gone well.
So let me ask you a question, because they are going to either be your friends or become your friends or are your family, or hopefully stay your family. Are there certain things you're particular about on the front end to make sure, because nobody likes letting anybody go, but the truth is, I always believed if you have a great relationship with them, you're actually consulting them into something that fits them better, or a dream they have, or a goal, or those kind of things. So is there something on the front end that you do that helps with all this?
Absolutely. I think it's really, and I describe this as a gracious truth teller, but I think it's really important up front, depending upon the job that you're hiring for. And I will say my philosophy was always more for management positions, whenever possible, to grow within. to have a person start and grow within, sometimes with qualifications, sometimes, I mean, it's all of the possibilities that a person along the way might need to gain to get a certain position. But I always ask, what would be your dream job?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you really see yourself? Now, it's hard with the generation in the last 20 years to say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because they don't want to think about working in the same job for 5 years.
True.
So I have modified some of that. Where do you really see yourself? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I'll give a John Maxwell quote, because he said people will come up to him and say, I want to be you.
Yeah.
And he will say, which I know you know this answer, is, are you willing to do what I have done to get where I am?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always the question too. I think also I really believe in productivity standards. If at all possible, and I try to get them to help me with that. I gave up long ago trying to fight the whole social media stuff. I just said, here's your productivity measures. If you hit that, then truly you got to be available and you got to be present. But you can't fight some things, so you need to move beyond them. So as much as possible, and truly with all employees even today, because I really have 3 businesses, I ask them to do a self-eval every year. And I ask them to set their own goals and measure their own goals. And then I give them 1 or 2 of mine, one that's reachable and one that's stretch. So the stretch shouldn't be easily reachable. It might be a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being a gracious truth teller, and, some people think if they're a truth teller, and I am, if you do the disc, I'm a high D, high I. So I can be a real, not ungracious truth teller. So, from that perspective, I would say you have to use kindness. You have to care about the person across the desk from you. And it's like you said, sometimes the best thing you can do for a person is fire them. I've had people that I had to terminate, which I never liked. And frankly, they didn't either. They went on to get their degree, become a teacher. They went on to do, their life wasn't over. They went on to do great things.
Mm-hmm. So, because they're your friend and they feel like they have probably that relationship, do you think that makes them want to go for that stretch goal?
I
Or is that
believe,
wired
great
in them already?
question, Linda. I believe that if you have a connection with that person, that you, hopefully, I would say definitely, one of the things I always say when I hire someone, and I really don't directly hire that many people anymore, in all truth, in the last couple years, but is that you try to inspire them to do things they might not even think they were capable of doing. Because I believe a person can do anything that they set out to do. I also think if you care about somebody, and you are their friend, or you have a true connection, you're going to want to do better. I mean, I know you have a second home, and I do too. Mine's just in Galveston, but I love the Texas beach, and so I have people who go down there and stay. And I will say, they are employees. They will treat my home like they would treat their home, because they care about me. And in fact, they probably much more than they would with Airbnb.
Yeah.
They are going to take that, and that's probably more of a superficial. But I will say, just with the book launch, I have a couple companies, and people from the other company wanted to help, and I'm sure they didn't want to help because that would mean extra work for them. I think they wanted to be part of something they knew was so important to me. And that makes me enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I teach a class called Fierce Conversations, and we've talked about it on our podcast before. And they've done studies, and it's actually EQ that causes people to want to go the extra mile. When you have that EQ connection with people, that's so much better than any intelligence or anything else you can
Mm-hmm.
have with somebody, because they want to they want to perform well for you. Do you have any people, have you had to do any of the people virtual, and are they still virtual, or did you guys move away from that, or what are your thoughts on that? Because you talked a little bit about social, but I'm assuming that's in
Mm-hmm.
the office you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What about outside?
Well, of course, I have done home health and hospice, and home health means you really never, we have always had remote employees,
Mhm,
always. Now, we didn't have, all the tools to be able to do what we do remote, and we were an essential business. But I can say, so going to remote workers for us was not really a stretch.
mm,
However, some of the things, we always had meetings where you would see face to face. So during that 2020, 2021 time period, we did all kinds of things. In fact, they still do, because we have people who live in other parts of the country that do. I have a healthcare consulting business. And so they try to do just to catch up. So they'll do 30 minutes. They try to limit it to 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the group. And we try not to have groups just all virtual that are over 12 people. It gets crazy. Even though we do education, you'll have 40, but to do interaction. So they just spend 5 or 10 minutes just catching up. It's not work. It's just, what's your highs and lows for the week? And it might be, as bad, as superficial as I got a bad haircut, to I had to put my mother on hospice,
mhm, mhm,
just so you have that connection. We also sent, we had, I think it was the fall of 2020, we did a pumpkin decorating contest, and everybody brought their pumpkin that they decorated, and they showed it. We used Teams, so they showed it on Teams, to be able to just say, this is funny and fun. Um, we we have There were always some jobs that had to be in the office. We have been a little more flexible with that, but we feel it's really important now. We still will have, if not monthly, because some of our people are traveling so much, every other month, try to have people actually come in the office with a real face to face. Now, our office people, I have a retired husband, and so I can't work at home very well anymore. So I come to the office because it makes me crazy. We have a couple other people that come to the office every day by choice, not by, but determined by us. I feel like we lose something if we never connect. But what is essential with remote workers is that they they are either so self-motivated that they're going to do everything on their own, or you have productivity standards
yeah,
where if they don't hit those, then you're having conversations about, why did they not hit them? What are they going? I'm not a micromanager. If I need to start watching you,
mhm,
and I tell people that up front,
yeah,
if I'm going to trust you, not because, you've necessarily earned it, but I'm going to trust you, and you're going to have to prove to me that I can't trust you.
mhm,
And if they do, then I'm going to watch you, and just to understand, I don't want to do that. And it's not going to be happy for you either.
mhm,
So
mhm. Do you remember, were you at John Maxwell when we did the marketing company out of Dallas, and the guy
I
had
don't,
it was one of my favorite things. I got to remember his
I
name,
don't
but
think
they're
so.
out of Dallas. They actually came up with the Chick-fil-A cow thing. Is
Yeah, I don't think so.
he was probably in his 80s when we went there. I just loved him, but um, he had a chief fun officer, and I've always thought, man, that's so good, because I don't always see myself as fun. I'm a little
Come on,
more,
Linda.
a little more
I see
intense.
it's fun. You always look like you're having such fun.
Oh, I do have fun. That wasn't the point. The point is I'm not the creator of fun for everybody else. But I'm just curious, do you feel like fun is natural for you, or do you have to schedule it? Or tell me about, I'm sure you make it fun. How do you do that?
Well, I will say I love to have a good time every day. I never thought I was going to live to be this old. Um, because all the women in my family, I mean, they all die young due to one thing or another. So I really didn't think I was going to be this old. But um, my goal is to laugh every day and have fun. But I had admin people that work for me, and we did something called Surprise and Delight.
Mm,
And that possibly comes from my hospital experience where they required an employee of the month, but it was like pulling teeth to get someone to nominate somebody. I mean, it wasn't fun anymore. It was another task to do.
mm,
So my goal was, let's do something unexpected, not always scheduled. Let's do something surprising. So one year I sent out, I didn't realize you could mail anything in the mail. So it was breast cancer month, and M&M's was doing pink M&M's. So we mailed to every single house, which at that point we had about 700 employees. So this was no small task.
oh, wow.
So we mailed a bag of M&Ms. And so it would just say celebrating, breast cancer month, or we did all kinds of crazy things. We would get frozen, you have offices that have employees that are going out in the community and coming back. And, it's 100 degrees in Texas and 800,000, degrees of humidity, and you're just hot. And then you go in these little old people's home and they have the heater on, and
Oh,
it's 100 outside. So, it's wearing. So we just had a cooler with frozen ice cream treats. Doesn't cost very much.
mhm.
So we would sit around and think about, not always me, but think about what would be the fun thing we could do. What we did consistently, even now, is pretty much send out a book every year, something that would, help them grow. We also encouraged, like each manager to walk through a book and talk about their own experiences through that. I mean, we have, you can always hire a college student that's got some funny, crazy ideas. You just have to not
Yeah,
poo-poo them all.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You just
I love
can't.
that you kind of did it as a group too, because that lets you kind of see who's creative, or it lets people use their
Right.
creativity.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.